Hello, back once again. Alex Cobb here for JE Instruction. Jonathan's back again, Mr. Devlin, Mr. Silver Fox himself. He's kind of feeling his oats today because Georgia had a big weekend, so he decided to sport some red. So I figured to honor him, I'd give us a red background. So, Jonathan had mentioned in the previous video. He'd kind of got to his compensation and how his commission gets paid. His situation is slightly different than probably what most of you are aware of because he's working in-house for the carrier. So he's not actually in an agency. He's working directly for a carrier. So I thought it would be good to get him back on here and he can kind of explain the way his compensation is calculated because it's probably going to be different than what you're expecting or what you're used to yourself if you're already in the industry. So I'll give you the floor.
Okay. So basically, the way our compensation works is I get paid an hourly wage, pretty decent hourly wage, and then so our production, it all goes into kind of a pool where a certain percentage all goes into a pool, and then that is divided up based on our performance. So like the bottom. Certain percentile doesn't get a bonus, and then of course everyone above that does based on their performance. So that's divided up based on the performance. So obviously the top performers get a bigger cut of that, and also a percentage that is set aside for those policies that stay in effect for at least 90 days, and that's paid out again in 90 days, and this is, in one of the earlier podcasts we talked about, me being an introvert. So this is, for someone who is afraid to get into insurance because, they're an introvert or has some anxiety about it. This is a great way to do it, because, I don't have to take that 100% commission model where I have to worry about feast or famine, or with my social anxiety just being a famine, so and also I don't have to prospect, like obviously if you're an independent, that's something you need to do, and that's something I don't particularly like or care for. So so like if you're an introvert like me, something like this is wonderful, because it kind of takes away the I guess the scariest parts of being an insurance agent.
Yeah. So what he's saying is he gets a regular hourly base pay. Mm-hmm. And when he's referring to his commission, he gets a percentage proportional to what they produce entirely. Correct?
Yeah.
So in essence, if anybody's ever worked in a restaurant, they have a thing called tip share. This is somewhat similar to that. Mm-hmm. So you get paid based on your performance, but it's also relative to what everybody else does.
Right.
Except for that bottom 10% because they drag everybody else down.
Right. And really the only difference between the tip share is, obviously in a tip share, usually people, it's divided out equally.
Yeah.
Or so much for each hour they worked, versus this is split up based on how much we've sold, how much premium we've written. So obviously, like if the top seller did twice as much business as the bottom seller, they get twice as much of that pool.
All right. So it's proportional inside of that.
Right.
That money that's set aside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never going to tell you that this won't happen if you step into an independent or even a captive agency to take a role. But typically this type of compensation package, you're going to find that, with a carrier. Because they realize anybody that wants to take a 100% sales position is not going to sit in an office and have them, reading off a script all day. That's just not going to work for them. So where, Jonathan is more shy and doesn't want to do the prospecting, someone who's more on the 100% commission scale, they absolutely would. So again, the opportunity in insurance is bigger than most people are aware. every personality type, every gender, every age. You've seen me make a couple comments about his silver hair. He's actually not as old as he looks. But even if he actually were old enough to have silver hair, the opportunity would still be there.
Yeah, I've had this since I was 30?
Oh, I know. Well, I can make fun of his hair that's changing colors because my hair stopped growing. So I'm bald by nature, not by choice. But the opportunity in insurance is still there. It's an opportunity available for everyone. To kind of touch on it, if you are the type that is willing to bet on yourself and you feel like you have the people skills and the personality, you absolutely can go find a 100% sales commission job all day long and twice on Sunday. They're everywhere. And the ones that are willing to take that bet, you're gonna start slow typically, but when you finally figure it out and figure out what your sales style is and what resonates with the customers around you, the sky's the limit because there is no cap on what you can make. But as you alluded to, the fear is a real thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a wife and kids at home, if you just have a dog at home, dog food, you still have to pay bills.
Yeah.
So you have to bring in some income. So, that's one extreme to the other where Jonathan is at.
Right.
There is a reality that kind of sits somewhere in the middle to where when the production for his crew comes in, it's put into one common pot. There's another one where you have a base salary as well, where you draw, and then you also get paid a bonus. So it's not a commission structure, it's a bonus because as he alluded to, it's not always about business that's written now, it's what's going to persist. So you may not hit the trigger for that bonus until 60 or 90 days later because it is astonishing how many customers will end up canceling in the first 45 days. So, they kind of put that period in there just to make sure the business is going to persist. But for those of you that are looking to get into this industry, this is useful information because it tells you how to negotiate what a fair expectation for salary is. And a lot of times you can read Bureau of Labor. The numbers aren't off by much, but just remember they're only giving you the median, which means there's an extreme high and there's an extreme low. The reality is, unless you just happen to have a golden Rolodex or know a bunch of people, if you're in a 100% sales commission position, you're probably going to be extremely low starting out, but the ability for you to move to the extreme high is extraordinary once you figure it out. So you get to choose what your level of risk is here. Once you jump in this industry, you can choose. Do you want to take full risk? Do you want to kind of take some hybrid and split it a little bit? So he didn't mention this, but I do think he gets a referral fee if anybody joins his crew, if he brings them in. So
actually, I think I do. And that's another benefit, to all you introverts out there who would definitely want to go the route I'm going. Obviously, there benefits too. Like, today I'm getting paid for being at work, and I'm not there. Paid holidays, paid things. Now, obviously, with 100% commission. In the end, if you're successful in that, I think that's the way to go. If that's something that you can do and that you're comfortable and successful with that, that's the way to go. You're building that recurring income stream. Whereas mine, I get paid on this thing. Well, actually twice. I get paid on it two times. Once now, once 90 days from now. But when you're 100% commission, you're looking at renewals. So you write that policy this year and that person keeps it 10 or 20 years, you're still getting paid on it, and that adds up after a while when you have that stacking up. So, definitely, each method has its own advantages depending on your personality style or your sales style or what have you, risk tolerance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one point I do want to make. A lot of times, if you're walking into a captive situation especially, what you're going to realize pretty quickly you may be coming in as a PNC focused agent or even coming in as a life agent. They typically will kind of direct you, guide you, give you production numbers to fill the other quota.
Yeah.
To me, that's a hard thing to be, because the mindset to be successful with life insurance is the opposite of selling PNC. So you may want to kind of, I don't want to say specialize, but you may want to decide which part your heart lies with the most as you go to make your decision. You can always join the other side, because if you pass one test, you can pass the other one. You can make that decision anytime. It's just, I don't want you to walk into a situation blind and all of a sudden have a life commitment that you're responsible for. Because what some of these carriers are doing now is, even if you've been primarily a property and casualty agency, they're giving you a life quota, and if you don't hit that production, they're actually cutting your commission for the property and casualty. And I mean, some of the numbers are ridiculously low. So that's just, something I've observed myself, and I know you're kind of on the other side because you are the enemy.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have a friend who works at another insurance company. He's in-house, and he was telling me about how, they're agents, and they're a big, well-known national insurance agency that has captive agents. And yeah, he was basically telling me that same thing, that, I mean, they're getting screwed basically, and they're trying to get more of it in-house.
Yeah. So again, guys, we're not saying good, bad. We're not steering in one direction or the other. We just want more people to come in the industry, but we want you to be aware of what you're walking into before you get here.
Yeah.
There's no point in walking in here blind. Insurance is the greatest hidden opportunity for the average person out here.
And there's so many more opportunities and ways to do it than people realize.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize that until I actually got involved, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a way to do it that works for me. So.
Yes, I mean, I think we all kind of have those moments where it's just an aha moment, where you're like, this has been here the entire time, and I've just overlooked it.
Yeah.
So again, I'm second generation. I grew up in a house with an insurance agency, and I try to do everything except for insurance growing up.
And I can attest to that. We met each other, about 20-something years ago.
Oh, in a restaurant that shall remain nameless.
Yeah, and he tried to avoid insurance for years, just because that's what his dad did, and he didn't want to be known as the second, or so.
Oh yeah. No, it's just there's so many stigmas around this industry. I mean, we're held about this much higher than a used car salesman to some people. And it's not without merit. I mean, we're known by our worst agents. So that's really what we're all about. It's just, bringing in a high quality, people into the industry. And just looking at the average right now, the average insurance agent in America is 56 and a half years old. They're going to be retiring and dying off soon. Somebody has to fill the gap of what these guys are going to leave behind. It might as well be you.
Do you know what that median income is?
For what?
For insurance agents.
The last numbers I saw was 51,000. But again, that's median.
Yeah.
Most of you guys have probably heard of the 80-20 rule. When we're talking insurance, when you're really talking anything in sales in general, it's really more 90-10.
And I'll tell you, when I was looking for jobs in the insurance industry, so most of these in-house jobs like I have, most of them,
underwriters, actuaries.
Most of the agent jobs paid in the neighborhood of 60, like 50 to 60,000. So I mean, you're starting out above the median there. So that's like I said, if you're an introvert, that's definitely a nice touch there.
Yeah. So, and I've had a few people point out, so I'm just going to say it here. People ask me why we label this podcast the 42-hour difference. I consider what insurance agents do to be a profession no less than any other white-collar profession. But the reality is, at least in the States, in the Southeast where I'm at, there's a 40-hour pre-license class. That's a requirement, and it's about 2 hours for the exam. So that's how we came up with the 42-hour difference. Most people that are watching this are one average American vacation away from a career change. And by the way, nobody says you have to jump into this full tilt and quit your job and start, completely with no book of business. You can start this in your part-time. Jonathan, he stuck his toes in the water and he started with what was comfortable for him, for his risk tolerance. He's got kids he had to take care of. It's understandable. We all have a different set of scenarios and situations we're dealing with, but don't let any of those stop you from finding your place in this industry. Because like he said, we're sitting here filming this on a holiday and his bank account's still getting rung with deposits. That could be you. Trust me, he is no different than you are. He just has silver hair.
No, I probably am different. I'm a little weird, but
But yeah,
but professionally, no, I'm not different than you are.
If this shy guy can do it and go in there and get it done, I know you guys can. So as always, we welcome your comments. Click the like and subscribe button. Till next time, this is Alex signing off. Jonathan.
And this is Jonathan, and I'm sure I'll see you again one day.
Maybe.